Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and I hope you start your 2024 with a blast. In today's video I want to share with you my top 8 destinations in 2024 for digital nomad based on my and Ryan, which is here with us today,
Hi.
personal experience. We both have been living in these places for at least 1 month, so I was thinking what's the best way to rate those places if not having the point of view of both of us in this video today. As well the fact that last year we had a budget of about $1,000 per month, so these places are still very affordable, but if you are an ancient digital nomad or if you're just starting it out. I think that if we will take place by place, our rating wouldn't be fair, so we decided to break down the rating based on safety, transportation, food, activity, cost, convenience stuff, healthcare, overall livability, welcoming to digital nomad, and then give out a total. We will rate those places from 1, which is the worst, to 10, which is the best, and at the end we will discover which of those 8 places are the best. Starting with the first one, which is also the place we are here, is Cusco in Peru.
I love Cusco.
It's very... The first one we wanted to talk about is safety, and
Gave it a 9, but I feel like our opinion is slightly swayed because we rarely leave the historic center. I don't know about like the surrounding barrios in the rest of Cusco, but like in the center it's very safe.
yeah, I will still give it a 9 because I think that I read on the internet that Cusco is literally the safest place to stay in Peru, and so far that's what
Yeah,
I've
it's been great.
experienced. Second things, we have transportation, and here is lacking a little bit. We gave it a 5.
There is public transportation. They have the colectivo buses. They're very public buses. I wouldn't even know which one to get or where to go. I don't even know if they run on a timetable.
And secondly, I think that Cusco itself, or at least the old side where we are here right now, is UNESCO heritage. It has been built years and years ago, and so the streets are so small that even if you want to call a grab, it might take quite some time even to travel around through all the small street because it's basically one lane. Then we have food. We give it at 8.
It's really good.
Peruvian food is amazing. Actually, we just ate guinea pig literally 1 hour ago.
I ate guinea pig.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do
You spat it back in a tissue.
But generally talking, Peru food is great. As well, also there are markets here, so it's also very cheap to eat. And as well, like there are many options. I think there are a lot of Peruvian options for food in Cusco, but if you check for Western, there is a little bit less option. So depends what do you wanna eat.
There is a McDonald's.
And a Starbucks. In terms of activities, we give it at 8 as well.
Cusco is amazing for activity.
Again, it's a UNESCO heritage, so you literally have so much history and culture around here.
So much to do, especially if you're outdoorsy like me.
In terms of cost, we also give it at 8. It is actually the cheapest place in South America that we've been.
We haven't been to a ton of places in South America. Places we have been, it's definitely been the cheapest so far. But we have Bolivia next week. We'll find out.
Subscribe to this channel to know more about it. In terms of convenience, which we put inside, for instance, the language barriers, the amount of groceries that you can find around, so generally talking convenient stuff around you, we give it at 6.
It's not the most convenient place. We've only seen 1 or 2 supermarkets around. I mean, you can go to places like San Pedro, San Blas and get vegetables and fruits and stuff. They sell meat too, but it's like it's just put out on the side. It's not refrigerated.
In Cusco, as the rest of South America, English is not very much spoken. So if you plan to come to Cusco and anywhere else in South America, take a Spanish class.
Necesitas aprendiendo español.
It's getting fluent. Healthcare, we don't have any experience in that, but since it's a small place, we also don't imagine that it has such a strong system. So we voted for 6.
It's a bit up in the air. I would take this, what we say, with a grain of salt because we haven't experienced the healthcare here. There are a few places on this list that we have had to experience the healthcare. Most of them we haven't.
In terms of overall livability, we give it a 7. But it's quite chilly and I am not a big fan of it. So even though it's great, I
The
think
weather's amazing here.
it's really personal.
I think the temperature range is very vast though, because it can be like between like 5 degrees overnight to like 20 degrees Celsius during the day.
In terms of welcoming for a digital nomad, we give it a 7. There is in Peru a digital nomad visa, which is great because this means that you can actually stay in the country and work for a longer period of time. The things in Cusco is that there aren't really many co-working spaces, so it's not suitable for a digital nomad that wants to go to co-working spaces to work.
I think there's a big digital nomad community here, but not huge. Like not as big as if you go to like somewhere in Thailand or Bangkok or something, or even like Tulum in Mexico. You can find your people I think if you really looked out for them, they are around. But when we're walking around somewhere like Koh Phangan, for example, I see way more Western people than I do Thai people. But here, I very rarely see Western people. And when I do, they're usually just backpackers.
Out of 90 points, Cusco gained 64 points.
Moving on.
At second place, we have Bali. Bali is an island, and some part of the islands are more remote, let's say. And there is Canggu, where we lived, Ubud, and Uluwatu, which are the main digital nomad spot of the island. This is also very much based on where you're staying in the island, but this is our experience.
This is our experience. Our experience is mainly Canggu, but I think a lot of what we experienced in Canggu could be translated to Ubud as well. The only place it might not be as translatable to is Uluwatu, because it's not quite as busy, but it is picking up.
First of all, we have safety, and we give it a 7. I feel that Bali is safe, but I got my phone stolen.
I also got my phone stolen.
We have friends that got into very, very severe scooter accidents. A friend of us, beloved, passed away because of that. Bali is safe, but it's a big playground for tourism, and this means that a lot of people drive without a driving license or being drunk, because it seems, as Bali most of the time as a party island, it seems that rule doesn't exist.
I think it's rife with petty crime. You can probably walk around Bali at night and you're not going to get mugged, you're not going to get kidnapped, you're not going to get murdered or anything like that. But you do have to be careful of your belongings. People will take the opportunity to take your phone if you give them the opportunity to. I had the phone on a holder on the scooter, and someone could swiped it off of the scooter
while you were driving.
While I was driving, yeah. I don't know if it's so much of a problem anymore, but when we arrived, it was during COVID, and there was some issues with theft from villas, so people were breaking into the villas and stealing stuff. But other than that, pretty safe.
Second part, transportation. Bali is a small island, the roads are what they are, and the amount of people are so many that it's super crowded.
The infrastructure in Bali was never built for the influx of tourists and digital nomads that are now there. So you got these tiny single lane roads and hundreds of cars and bikes trying to go down them.
In Bali there aren't really transportation, or better, you can see some buses in some areas.
They sort of run from the airport to Ubud and back again, and there are some public buses as well, but it's the same with Cusco. You just don't know where they're going.
And the fact is that if you don't rent a scooter and drive it yourself, the only option that you have basically to travel around is by getting a cab or jumping on a Grab scooter. That's it.
Yeah, you either rent your own scooter or you take a taxi.
If you visit area for digital nomad like Canggu, Ubud, and also Uluwatu, you might end up being stuck in the traffic.
You will end up being stuck in the traffic. And before you say Canggu isn't Bali, get out of Canggu, there's no traffic. That is true. You can go up to the north, you can go to the west, you can go to the east, there's less traffic, but there's not anywhere that we would prefer to live. It depends, like if you want to go completely off grid and just live in the countryside. Most people who come to live in Bali don't want to do that.
Talking about food, we give it an 8.
It's great. There's a lot of options. Tastes good, cheap.
Vegan, vegetarian, barbecue, Chinese, whatever you can think of, you can find it. Activities, we also give it an 8. So in Canggu, there isn't much to do. Like Canggu is literally a beach. It's great if you want to surf. That's an activity that I would recommend to go to Bali for as well. But if you don't surf, Canggu itself, there isn't really much to do.
Yoga, wellness retreat. The whole island is full of activities to
Yeah.
do. If you have your own scooter, it's a lot easier. But you can climb volcanoes, you can go look at waterfalls, you can go to rice fields. There's so many Hindu temples around to go visit as well. But I do think the longer you spend there, the more you will have done. I also just want to throw out the culture in Bali as well, because there is a very unique Hinduism culture, and there are tons of ceremonies and holidays, like Nyepi, the thing before Nyepi when they do the ogos, and then like every time they build a new building, there's a ceremony to bless the building. You can go and join in if you're part of that.
And then we have Costa, and we gave Bali a 7, which I've been traveling through all the Southeast Asian countries, and out of Singapore, Bali is the second most expensive country, especially right after COVID, due to the massive tourism that hit the island.
Yeah, 10 years ago it probably would have been like a 9 or a 10. Then 5 years ago it would have been like an 8, and now it's like a 7, we would say. And you know, in 5 years time, because it's so popular, if it doesn't slow down, it's probably going to be like a 5. So I think take this category as like a little bit another bit of pinch of salt because it's going to change rapidly. And also with cost, just a quick segue, I think it's worth mentioning that everyone's lifestyle is different. We lived with around $1,000 each in Bali, but we stayed in a very cheap guest house. We didn't have a villa or anything like that. We ate local food quite often, and we also got a pretty good deal on scooters because we'd been there for a long time. It might be difficult these days to stay there if you're not living very locally, like in a local house with eating local food that you bought from your local market. I think it would be very difficult to live there. And bear in mind as well, alcohol is incredibly expensive in Bali.
Do arak, it's fun. In terms of convenience, we gave Bali at 8. First of all, because they speak a great English. If you want, you can learn Indonesian, which is also a very easy language to learn, which is great. We took some classes, but with English you can go around very, very easily.
It's actually really annoying because we're trying to learn Indonesian and we'd go out and we would try to order our food in Indonesian or talk to someone in Indonesian and they will talk back to us in English. So.
And in terms of convenience store, well, there are in the market and Minimark,
Circle K.
Yeah, the best is Circle K because it offers a lot of like cold pasta to put inside the microwave, and it's great when you come back drunk from a party. And there is also 2 big malls.
There's actually a lot of malls.
Yeah, I think like Bali in terms of convenience, also because it grows as tourist area, they survive like this. It's great. Next spot about Bali, let's talk about healthcare, which we gave it a 5. So I personally, except a dentist, I never had to actually go to a hospital and stuff. Dentists were very good price, but many friends of us got misdiagnosticated. I don't know what to misdiagnosed. Many of them decide to just travel out of Bali, like to Singapore, to actually get treated. Bali for small things like Bali belly,
dengue or something like that, like stuff that they see all the time. If you need major healthcare, I don't think Bali's the place. I also went to like the doctors a few times for a few different things, and they do listen. They just prescribe you pills and then hope it gets better. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you need major healthcare, I wouldn't go to the hospitals in Bali. I would go and spend some money and fly to Singapore or maybe Kuala Lumpur.
Overall livability in Bali, we gave it a 6.
Yeah, it's pretty low in the most of those places on this list, but you know, once you take into account the healthcare is not particularly great, there's no public transport, the best thing by far is the food.
And something other that I realized that is very important for me is being able to walk. Bali is not walkable.
You don't want to walk anywhere.
We were living on a road and often we want to go to restaurant which is literally close by. I risk to end up in some holes. I don't know how many times. Like, it's full of holes. I have friends that end up in the holes in the street or getting hit as well by scooter because there is no pathway, and where there is the pathway, sometimes there are holes. There is the beach. If you want to take a long walk on the beach, you can do it, but I don't always want to take off my shoes and walk on the beach. I also just want to go and grab a coffee. Walking to the coffee place in Bali, especially in Canggu, is not really an option. Is Bali welcoming for digital nomad? Well, we give it at 7. And no, Indonesia doesn't have a digital nomad visa, but it's one of the highest, best digital nomad place apparently. There are a lot of co-working spaces. All the cafes have a strong Wi-Fi and they allow people to work there, but not all locals are happy about it. Things about gentrification, Western people that buy local houses and they sell out to other tourists, increasing of 3, 4, 5 times of the price and basically pushing out locals. And I mean, this is, I guess, is a common problem.
It's happening everywhere in the world, but Bali's particularly bad. Also, there is no digital nomad visa, but that you can get a kitas, which essentially means getting a residency and opening a business in Bali, in Indonesia. So if you did want to live there long term, that's the way you can go about it.
Out of 90 points, Bali gets
60.
Only 60. Let's move to the next one. Let's talk about Bangkok now, that I love.
Spoiler alert, this is our favorite.
But again, we try to be completely biased about it, adding like the reason why we like it, the reason why we don't like it. So let's start with the first one, which is food, and give it a 9. And I have to say, I am not a Thai lover food. Like, I don't like pad Thai, I don't like fried stuff, so
I love it.
I actually personally give it a 9, not really for the food, because again, Thai is not my favorite, but because of the option. It's full of any type of option, and it also have a lot of like weird stuff that you have never seen before that doesn't have anything to do with the Thai food itself.
I think the food in Thailand, or at least in Bangkok, has been very sort of Japan Koreanized So it's like they do all these really funky things that you just wouldn't find anywhere else.
Next things, activities, and we gave it a 10. I think that Bangkok has so much to do. I mean, it's a huge city and you have so many temple, museum, parks, huge malls that are literally an experience. You need to experience.
The mall game in Bangkok is strong.
And overall, there is always something to do. I mean, it's a sleepy that never city. It's a city that never sleeps. Next, we have cost, and we gave it a 10. Cheaper than so many places that we've been, and it's crazy to think about it because it's such a modern and
very popular. It's very modernized.
An apartment, a very fancy apartment, it can cost you like $600 per month, which is something that we have never experienced before.
We were paying that in Bali for a guest house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's the quality cost is. Bangkok is great. We spend about $1,150 per month in Bangkok, and we eat out all the time.
We ate well,
you know?
and we did a lot of activities back then as well.
Next, we have convenience, and again, it's a 10.
It's very convenient. So this is probably the main reason I love Bangkok is the convenience.
Like, everybody speaks English, first of all. Second of all, it's a big city, so I also guess it has been built to host so many people in the city. It has so many convenience stores. Actually, I check on Google, and there are 13,838 7-Eleven stores in whole Thailand, and I guess Bangkok, literally, when you walk out, you can walk 1 kilometer and find 10 of them.
And that's the thing in Bangkok, unlike places like Bali or Koh Phangan, you can walk everywhere. It's big, it takes a long time, but if you really want to, you can walk absolutely everywhere.
For Bangkok, in terms of safety, we gave it at 8. And personally, as a girl in a big city, I felt so safe walking by myself.
I think they still get the petty crime, so you have to be careful about that, pickpocketing and stuff like that, but major crime, no.
And then we have transportation, and we gave it a 9.
The taxis are very quick. There's Grab there, so you can just order an online taxi or a Grab bike. I would recommend Grab bikes because there is a bit of traffic in Bangkok. And the metro is very well connected around the city. I can't remember how many lines there are exactly, like 4 or 5. You can get everywhere on the metro, or you can just hire a scooter and ride around yourself. I think the public transport is so good though.
Healthcare, we gave it at 8, and not by experience.
Yeah, this is one of those places that we haven't been to use the healthcare.
Then we have overall livability, and on our personal experience, we give it a 9.
I would be very close to giving this a 10, apart from the air pollution.
That's true. It's very smelly, and sometimes you can't even see the sky. But on the other side, it gives the best sunset ever.
Yeah, good sunsets when there's air pollution.
Welcoming to digital nomad. Even though Thailand doesn't have a proper digital nomad visa, we gave it at 8. And
it does have a proper one. It's just very, 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 very expensive.
It's not a digital nomad visa. It's more like a retirement visa that also suitable for digital nomad. I checked, and it was costing about $1,500, but you have to invest like $500,000, or there are different type of investment that you have to do. So the flat fees is $1,500 plus all the things that you have to do. So this is what I read. Don't take me 100%. On the other side, it has some of the best co-working spaces.
Amazing co-working space. The Wi-Fi speed in Thailand is insane.
The total of Bangkok, out of 90 points, he get 81.
It's very high.
Yeah. Now we have Medellin, which was also the first city where we stayed when we arrived in South America. And as safety, we gave it a 6.
Not as unsafe as you would expect it to be, but also not the safest. We had some preconceptions before we went after hearing about Colombia and stuff, so we were a bit wary for the first week or 2.
But after that, we warm up to the city and everything was fine and nothing has ever happened to us. So I still don't feel that is on my top safest. I am in some digital nomad groups in Facebook, and especially on guys, it happens a lot that through Tinder they got kidnapped, robbed, and even worse. I mean, this happens everywhere in the world, but I don't know, I had the feeling that it happens pretty much.
It's a particular scam in Medellin.
Don't believe if you watch Narcos.
Yeah,
it's not like
it's
that.
It's not as bad as you think it is.
As transportation, we gave Medellin at 8 because it's the only place in Colombia that have a metro transportation, and it actually works pretty well.
And there's Uber as well.
Yeah.
Uber is illegal. They use it anyway. Don't feel bad saying that because the locals use Uber as well. If you do order an Uber, you have to get in the front seat, so make it look like your friends and not a taxi.
And I would say also it's very walkable as a city.
It's very walkable. You could walk across the entire city if you'd like.
And there are also cable cars that run to the highest part of Medellin. So it's something very specific on Medellin that definitely give up extra point to the transportation. About the food, we give it a 6 because I didn't particularly enjoy the Colombian food. Even though there are many Western restaurants, any of those that we try were particularly
The
good.
Colombian food, I did love a good bandeja paisa, but the food in Colombia isn't the most varied. Most of the restaurants that serve Western food that we visited in Medellin were not the best quality in comparison to places like Bali or Bangkok.
But in terms of activities, we give Medellin a 10. It's filled with a museum, parks, colorful area, like for instance Comuna 13, and you cannot miss it if you go to Medellin. And if you want to know what to do in Medellin, check out this video. And then let's move to the cost, which we gave Medellin at 7.
It was pretty cheap.
We already knew that South America would have been more expensive than Southeast Asia. We managed to stay on about $1,200 per budget per month, including the fact that we also cook every time at home to save money.
The accommodation was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
We have a budget of about $600 a month between us, so about $300 each for accommodation. The one in Medellin was like between $750 and $800 because we wanted to be in a particular location. We wanted to be either in El Poblado or Laureles.
Next one, we have convenience, and we gave Medellin a 7.
I was going to say, just in general, in South America, convenience stores are not as good as they are in Asia.
There are a lot of like patisseries, quick snack places, like tacos. We struggle finding proper grocery store.
Groceries in Colombia were particularly expensive, actually. I mean, we do buy Western food because we don't want to eat local food for every meal. So when we cook at home, we do try to cook like a spaghetti bolognese or like a chicken. Well, we had chicken and rice at the time. It was quite expensive, groceries. And also, like everywhere that we're going to talk about in South America, English is not widely spoken.
Right.
So you do need to have a small amount of Spanish. Basic Spanish will get you by.
About the healthcare, we haven't had personal experience with that, but I went to the dentist and it was great, and I decided to give it at 8.
It's a big city, so I assume it's not too bad,
Exactly.
but we can't really comment on it.
About the overall livability, we gave it a 7, and I personally believe that Medellin is very livable. You can move around easily. There are tons of stuff to do. Of course, you need to speak Spanish mostly because again, English is not very used. I would definitely recommend to live in more tourist places.
El Poblado or Laureles is where most people
If
live.
you want to check out the exact location, in case you want to find a good neighborhood, check out this video because I have a breakdown on all the locations that are better for digital nomads. Last but not least, about Medellin, we have the welcoming to digital nomads, and Colombia has a digital nomad visa.
It does, and it's affordable.
Exactly, I can't remember how much it costs.
She'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put it here. But it has a lot of co-working spaces because, of course, it's suitable for digital nomads.
The only thing I would mention extra to that is there is, according to the locals who probably know best, there is a gentrification problem in Medellin at the moment because it's becoming more and more popular over the last couple of years. So you might find that most locals are very welcoming. You might find a lot of locals probably don't like having digital nomad and Western expats living in Medellin.
And these give Medellin out of 90 points, 66 points. Next we have Koh Phangan.
Koh Phangan.
And in terms of safety, we gave it at 8.
I don't think there's going to be any crime there.
No.
Maybe pickpocketing at the full moon party.
Pocketing and maybe spicing the drink. In terms of transportation, on the other side, we gave it at 4.
Scooter.
Yeah.
Scooter, and then there are the jeeps that sort of ferry people up and down the main road in the south of the island, but otherwise it's just you have to rent a scooter.
About food, we gave it a 7, and the fact is that the whole island is, most of the part is still very wild. So even though there are Western options and there is an amazing food market.
Koh Phangan food court, that's the place to be for food.
Yeah.
Cheap and tons of options.
But you know, like you have options but are limited. So I feel that there aren't tons of restaurants to choose from. In terms of activities, we gave it a 7. It doesn't really have museum, but if you're an outdoorsy lover, there are so many waterfalls and beaches and national park to explore.
It's so tiny that you can go to every beach in the same day, and you know there's a couple of temples that were 3 or 4 or 5 temples. There's the 360 bar, which is pretty cool, and one national park, or maybe 2, I can't remember off the top of my head. You know, you could live there for a year, but within the first 2 months you would have done all of the activities. You'll have nothing new to do anymore.
And in terms of cost, we give it at 8 because the prices overall were great. I think the only problem is when there is the full moon party once per month and the tourism rise more than usual as well, together with the prices.
And I think activities are fairly cheap. Like we didn't pay to, we had to pay to get into the national park. I
But
can't
the
remember
rest was
exactly how
like-
much it was, but
the rest was
everything else is free. Yeah.
Convenience, well, I will give it a 6. Again, in Thailand, people speak English, but because it's a very, very small island, I don't think it's very convenient.
If you wanted to do things like go to the cinema or go to the mall, you can't do that on Koh Phangan. It's very
Island
islandy.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like island life in a small island. In terms of healthcare, actually, I remember that there is a hospital, but still we haven't had any personal experience.
I can't imagine it being a very big hospital either.
It's just one, so we just gave it a 3. I think that is great to go to the hospital in case you have something small, but in case something more serious happen, I guess people will go probably to the neighbor island of Koh Samui, which is way bigger, or maybe fly directly to Phuket or
Bangkok.
Overall livability, I will give it a 7, and it's very personal experience.
I personally wouldn't like it. I like convenience. I like modernity, modern places. I like to have options of things to do. So for me personally, I could stay there for a few months, but I could never live there.
I will love it, I think, for a while, but not too much, because I think I will get very bored.
You have to be a professional beach bum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You must like the really chill island life for that.
Yeah.
Welcome into Digital Nomad. Again, Thailand doesn't have a Digital Nomad visa, but it's very infrastructure Digital Nomad friendly. And in fact, there are a lot of co-working space around it. I check it out. I made a video about them. Check it out here. In terms of total, we are over the total. Koh Phangan have 58 point out of 90. Pretty low.
I think it's just because it's small.
Yeah.
For us, we like convenience and things to do.
Then we have Lima in Peru, which we were before coming here and was the first spot we visited in Peru. So in terms of safety, we give it a 7. Lima is the capital of Peru. All the tourist area are super safe, are super beautiful, but I guess there are also places where maybe tourists should avoid as a very big city.
We were warned by some locals. Like, you know, we would talk to some people and have a conversation, and then at the end of it, they'll just say, oh, just be careful where you go, yeah, because not everywhere is as safe as it is in Miraflores. And we're like, okay.
6 for transportation. So again, there are buses, and we actually took it once.
We did when we went on the walking tour. Yeah, we didn't take it again after that.
It was super crowded, and I can imagine they're happening pickpocketing.
But they also have the Collectivo buses, the ones that sort of run places, and you don't know when they're going to turn up or how much they're going to cost or stuff like that. So.
But except of buses, there is also the Uber option. I realized that we were in Miraflores, so we were always able to walk everywhere we wanted to go. In terms of food, 9. Well, Peruvian food.
It's very famous, the Peruvian cuisine. It's they're very proud of it, and there's a reason for that. It's very nice.
Something I loved is like lomo saltato, ceviche. But what I realized in Lima that is different from Colombia is that they also know how to properly cook Western cuisine. Activities, we gave it at 8 because there is a lot of history and culture to check around. Museum. I felt that we are not overwhelmed about things to do there. In terms of convenience, Lima is a 8 because it has basically everything. Convenience store, quick bites, and then we have healthcare.
I have experience here. Yeah, I had a bad stomach and pains, and they fixed me, and it was very easy. I went into the clinic. It wasn't really a hospital, it was a clinic. It wasn't expensive. I think the whole thing, I had to have an x-ray and an ultrasound as well, and blood check as well, and they gave me some pills to help out, and I had to have 2 doctor's appointments, and I think the entire thing came to just under $200.
But that's why it's very important to have a health insurance, and if you're wondering which one do we have and that we use since a long time, we use Safety Wings, and for less than a dinner for 2 per month, we are saved and covered worldwide. We never really have bad surprises. If you want to know more about it, I will leave a link down below. Overall, livability.
Okay, that's what I was going to say earlier, I didn't say it. So the thing with Lima is we arrived and the vibe was immaculate, at least in Miraflores where we were staying. It was so much fun and everyone was so friendly and I just really enjoyed it. Off the bat, it was just a very good feeling.
Locals were super welcoming. Everyone, and I literally mean it, everyone was having a smile on their face, ready to help. And in terms of welcoming to Digital Nomad, again, Peru has a Digital Nomad visa, so this would make it even easier to stay there long term. It also have many co-working space. In fact, we were going to Works.
Yeah, Miraflores. It was very good.
Yeah, was it like at the 11th floor? You have all the view in Miraflores. It was really good.
Wi-Fi was great.
And the total of Lima out of 90 points, we gave it 68 total. Next place we have Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia. But let's start with our rating. And the first one is safety, and we give it a 7. So I personally feel that KL it's extremely safe. I feel that probably there are certain area probably outside that I won't go by myself.
I think you got to be careful. I think you're right. I think there's going to be some very local places that are outside the city center that you're going to want to be a bit careful.
I think it was just the first night we arrived because our apartment was slightly outside and the area we were was pretty empty. Maybe we had the feeling like we shouldn't be here, but honestly there were just no one around us on the road.
Yeah, we went to go try to find dinner and it was very difficult to find a place, wasn't it? But it was kind of very bit eerie.
Yeah.
Where we were staying. But actually, my favorite apartment complex we've ever stayed in. So
it's true. In terms of transportation, well, we give it a 7. I think it's very easy to move around and there is also a metro in KL, but I think it didn't reach our area, so we were having to get a cab every time to go.
We never took the metro, did we?
No.
But like, it's very, I think there's only 2 lines. So like for us to get the metro from where we were, and we were only a 15 to 20 minute drive outside the city centre, if that. But we would have to get like a 5 to 10 minute cab to the metro station and then get the metro into town.
So it was just better for us to just get a grab and drive into
so they were very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of food,
would personally give it a 10. Kuala Lumpur has such a melting pot of cultures that it's really affordable to get Malaysian food, which is similar to Indonesian. It's really easy to get Chinese food. It's really easy to get Indian food, and it's really easy to get Arabic food. And it's all incredibly affordable, and it all tastes amazing. And even the Western food is very good. Peru is well known as being like the kitchen of the world at the moment, but I still think that the food in Kuala Lumpur was better.
In terms of activities, it's a big city and we give it a 10 because there are a lot of temple, museum, parks, mall, and there is something for everyone. In terms of cost, we also give it a 10.
Very cheap.
Yeah, it's another capital, but the costs were very low in terms of accommodation, in terms of food, even activities like, for instance, the Batu Caves, which is one of the top things to do in KL, was free. The only things we actually pay quite a good amount of money was about $20 to go on top of the KL Tower.
The Petronas Towers.
Petronas Tower,
yeah,
sorry.
But that was good though. I feel like that's a bucket list thing if you're in Kuala Lumpur. And I have to say as well with the cost, it was at this time we had just started our health hype. And it's notoriously more expensive to eat healthy food out anyway than it is to eat unhealthy food. And I was ordering quite a lot of more healthier options, and they were still very cheap.
In terms of convenience, again, it's a 10. Actually, everybody in Malaysia speak English.
A lot of Malaysian people consider English to be one of their national languages, but they have a lot of languages in Malaysia. It's full of different cultures.
Talking about healthcare, we didn't have any first-hand experience except me going to the dentist for the 3rd time because I keep breaking.
I also went to the dentist.
We did also cleaning and it was like
$40.
Yeah,
$40 or $50, something like that.
So just for this experience, we gave it an 8. Something that I was very surprised about knowing, checking on Google, is that Malaysia is rated 3rd after Switzerland and Singapore in terms of healthcare. Overall livability in KL, we give it a 9 because well, it's very similar to Bangkok, and also in KL we have a great experience.
Yeah.
And in terms of welcoming to digital nomad, we give it at 8. I will even give it a 9 almost, because Malaysia have a digital nomad visa, so this is for sure a checkpoint for digital nomad, but it's also filled with co-working spaces all around the area. I mean, we love it. We have Wi-Fi in our own place there, which was super strong, so we didn't really have to go to a co-working, but if you need a co-working, it's plenty of options. Total points out of 90, KL have 80 points, which is great. Last but not least, we have Chiang Mai, Thailand. We stayed there 1 month, and safety, we gave it a 9 because honestly,
very safe. No issues, no worries, nothing.
No, I would even leave my phone somewhere, and I know that if I go back, it's gonna be there.
Someone, it will still be there, or someone would have handed it in. I don't think I've ever heard of any pickpocketing. I'm sure it happens, but like from friends and people that we met, I've never heard of anything.
In terms of transportation, I will give it a 6 because even though it's actually a quite big city, it doesn't have a metro transportation, so you need to go around by buses or by those vans that run around the city, or cab or bike. In our case, we rented a
scooter for the month.
It was actually very cheap.
It was 99 baht for the month, I believe.
Remember that you need an international driving license, so don't go with Thailand without one. In terms of food, we gave it at 8. I think I will give it an 8 because I will actually give it a 9, but just because it's smaller than Bangkok, I will say.
I think an 8 is good. I personally found Chiang Mai a bit underwhelming in the food scene, and I felt that a lot of the city was closed. The food that we did have was amazing, don't get me wrong, but I think the options were more limited than I was expecting from Chiang Mai.
The thing is that there is in the weekend a huge food market, like it's kilometers long, and there you can also have.
It's not just a food market.
It's
a shopping market, but it runs all the way up the middle of Chiang Mai through the old town.
It's like a big cross.
Yeah.
It's huge. In terms of activities, I will give it a 7. I personally found that except of offering temples and night bazaar in terms of things to do, it doesn't really have many other things. I mean, if you want to explore more, you have to go outside.
The nightlife was pretty good though.
Malls as well.
Yeah.
Not super huge, but still.
But yeah, you're right. It's very limited in activities inside the city.
In terms of cost, we give it a 10 because costs are amazing, and we spend only $400 for 1 month. And that's incredible.
We had like a proper apartment. Yeah, it was very good. It was this one.
Yes. I feel that Thailand cost quality wins, hands down. Convenience, we give it a 9. And again, I give it a point less than Bangkok simply because it's smaller.
We didn't really do grocery shopping, so we can't really talk. Actually, no, we tried. So there are grocery stops around, but we did try because we fancied cooking at home for once.
Bolognese.
And it was so expensive to cook bolognese. All we wanted was the meat, the sauce, the spaghetti, and some vegetables to go in it, and it was going to cost like $15 or something like that.
So we literally went inside the store, took all these things, and then checked the price. We're like, okay, no, we put it back, and the same night we went out in a restaurant to eat bolognese.
It's cheaper to go to the restaurant.
Healthcare in Chiang Mai, we give it a 7.
Didn't experience it. Can't
No.
say. I imagine it's pretty good. Like it's a very, very popular digital nomad location. I can imagine the healthcare reflects that. But it would be also very easy to go down to Bangkok if you needed to.
Overall livability, we give it at 8. And I feel it's very livable, safe. You have stuff to do around. It's very quiet. So if you're more like a quiet person, I can see Chiang Mai being for you. Things that turn me off was the fire season.
During a couple of months every year up in North Thailand, and I think in some other places, they burn their fields. I suppose it's good for the fertility of the soil and stuff like that. They don't have to use fertilizers and stuff, but it's a horrible air quality.
We stayed there a month and we never saw the sky. Welcoming to Digital Nomad, we gave it at 8. Actually, Chiang Mai offers so many amenities and co-working spaces for digital nomads, and if you want to know more, check out this video. Chiang Mai is out of 90 points is a 72 points. At the 8th spot, which I'm quite surprised, we have Koh Phangan with 58 points.
I think that's totally due to its size and lack of activities other than beaches.
If you're a person like this small chill island vibe, that could be for you. Number 7, that's shocking.
Out of 8.
We have Bali.
Or if we'd left Bali after 6 months of being there, then it may have been higher. Like, we have to take into account there is still some biasness on this list. But from how we were feeling when we left, it doesn't surprise me. And no, we don't want to live in the countryside of Bali.
After this shocking discovery, at our 6th spot, we have Cusco, Peru, where we are right now.
Which that shocks me. I thought that would be higher, to be honest with you.
I
I think we really like it here in Cusco.
I feel the same. Like, for instance, I prefer much more Cusco than Medellin, that hasn't appeared or released yet. But I also see that healthy and convenience. Healthcare and convenience is definitely a thing. At our 5th spot, we have Medellin. And I won't live in Medellin long term.
No, it's not. I don't know. I don't know if we didn't give it enough chance. I don't know. We were there for a month and we didn't really click.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a great fit for us, I feel like.
They have some really nice little villages, like Hudin we went to visit. Guatape was really nice and cool, but they're not places you'd want to live. They were quite far out from Medellin.
As 4th spot, we have Lima in Peru. And Lima, to me, somehow it felt like a Bangkok of South America.
Yeah, sort of, but not as vast, not as big, not as vibey. Although the vibes were immaculate, though. I very much enjoyed my time in Lima. I would prefer to be in Lima than Chiang Mai, and Chiang Mai hasn't come up on the list yet. So.
That's true. Yeah, actually, talking about Chiang Mai is the 3rd on the list. Yeah, it actually has many benefits and amenities, so I
just don't go in burning season.
On the 2nd spot, we have KL, Malaysia.
It's a big city.
Yeah.
It's very modern, very convenient, has a lot of fun things to do. The food is great. great. It's very cheap. There's not anything really I can complain about Kuala Lumpur. I had a really good time the entire time.
And it even have a digital nomad visa, so even an extra point to go there. So we love it. And first, it's not surprising.
Maybe slightly due to our biases. By the way, it's Bangkok. That's first.
It was our favorite place. We love it. The vibe, the city, the things to do. Everything was great
The
for us.
nightlife is fun. The connectivity. Bangkok International Airport is such a huge layover airport. You can get to most places in the world from Bangkok.
So yeah, I feel that it was a great list. It kind of reflects my thought as well. I hope you like this video, guys.
It's a long one, but I hope we gave you lots of detail to plan either your next trip or where you're going to be basing yourself as a digital nomad.
If you have any question, you can leave your question down below in the comment. We will answer. And if you are just starting out your digital nomad career, we have a freebie for you about how to become a digital nomad and travel the world. I will leave the link down below in the pinned comment as well.
And also, after this, we're going to Bolivia, and then we're going to Mexico, and then we're going back to Europe for a bit, but then we're going back to Asia, and we're going to do some more Asian destinations. So if you want us to make an update video, maybe at the beginning of 2025, let us know, and we'll have probably another 8 different destinations to add to this list.
So if you like this video, guys, like and subscribe, and I will wish you another beautiful rest of your 2024. Bye!
Peace!